It's a new day. I'd like to share an idea that's worth catching, but before I jump into that, I'd like to share a little bit about myself. I am an entrepreneur. I like to work for myself. I really enjoy the freedom that it gives me to create and to think, the freedom to think outside the box and to innovate. I really like to put systems together. I believe good systems should flow. They should be fast and they should be fun, because in the end, I like to win. The thing that I love the most about being a business owner, though, is hires. I love to put good teams together. I'm always looking for quality, hardworking, and hungry hires to bring them on board, to give them a job so they can find purpose and meaning. I believe it was Jim Collins who said it best. It's about finding that right hire and giving them the right seat on the bus. Well, to be honest with you, though, running a business is hard, and I've messed up a little bit. Those hires that I say I like, I've actually squashed a few. I didn't mean to, I just did. And when it happened, I found myself in those situations. I realized I only had two choices. I could either lose or I could learn. Do you know what the difference between losing and learning is? It's perspective. Did you know that what you focus on, you will create more of it? Let me say that again. What you focus on, you will create more of it. And sadly, we focus on the negative on things and we manifest more of that. Worse is if we mislabel things. You want me to make that real? Want me to bring it home? I'll never be like my dad. You're just like your mother. Ugh, it's like daggers to the soul, and yet we focus on negative things and we create more of it. Well, I've got a friend of mine that I'd like to introduce you to, and I believe we've been mislabeling him for far too long. We've even made jokes about him. What's the last thing that goes through a bug's mind when he hits your windshield? His ass. We've called him a pest. We've called him a problem. We even called him a plague. Well, the difference between a pest and a guest is an invitation. I would like to extend an invitation to my friend, the Grasshopper, and I would like to hire him into the field of nutrition. We've been running him over with the bus for far too long, and I think it's time that we give him a seat on the bus, even the driver's seat. He is hardworking. He is hungry. Speaking of hungry, I like to eat. And shortly after I got married to my beautiful bride about 20 years ago, I found myself eating my own meals. While we ate together, I was just eating my own meals. She says to me, Danny, I understand what I said. I said in sickness and in health until death do us part, but you need to start eating better. Truth be told is I had food allergies, or food sensitivities, pardon me. There is a difference, by the way, between an allergy and a sensitivity. And a lot of sensitivities don't show up on allergy tests. But there was foods that I would eat that would mess with me, and I didn't know it. So I actually had to keep a food journal to track this stuff. And she finally broke through this hard shell with her love, and I started to look into health and nutrition. Now, I've got an analytical mind, and I'm a very critical thinker, and so I studied health and nutrition for about 4 years. I'm no expert, and by no means do I have a degree in it. It's just self-study. And when I got to the end of my studies, I realized that it's actually quite simple. We just make it complicated. Consider the flying pattern of the Canadian goose. We've all seen them fly, right? We see them fly in that V formation. Do you know why one line is always bigger than the other? There's more geese on that side. Same thing with this thing that I have here, this suit. We've all got one. It's a body. And this body is able to do things, and it needs energy, and it gets energy from calories. And there's a difference, Gary Taubes says it very well, between good calories and bad calories. At the same time, this suit that I have has a defense system. This defense system is its immune system. And the immune system is able to do its job from nutrients. And nutrients come from food. And there is a difference between food and food-like substances. And I need to be able to equip my body to do its job by getting nutrients. The other thing that I noticed through my studies is the inventions in the food industry, the marvels that they've done to go ahead and extend food. It's pretty remarkable, actually, and being an inventor myself, I have to say to them, nice job. It's amazing what you've done. Take farm fishing, for example. Farm fishing, the whole point of farm fishing was to save wild fish. Just last fall, I had the blessing of taking our employees down the Bighorn River to go fly fishing. 5 had never fly fished before, ever. Just watching them, listening to them laugh and watch them reel in their first fish was priceless. But before we launched, I asked the outfitter, the guide, I says, hey, can a couple of these guys keep some fish so they can eat them? And he looked at me and he says, Danny, he says, that fish is my business partner. I think it's best if we let him go. I want to take a quick aside here to say to all of the hunter men and women, fishermen and women out there, to say thank you. Because you understand the value of the environment, continue to take good care of it. I want to say I applaud you. I appreciate that. Take GPS with best water practices and also genetically modified seeds. We can actually grow 4 to 5 times more crop on the same plot of land than we could just 50 years ago. Farmers and ranchers, we live in Montana here, farming and ranching community, that's what we are. And by processing foods, we're saying thank you to the farmers and the ranchers that we can take their hard work and we can actually put it on the shelf and keep it around longer. So the inventions in the food industry have been awesome. There's another invention that I like to share. I'm an avid bird hunter and I keep my dogs in shape all year long. I take them to the trails so we can run and keep them in shape for hunting season. And when you walk up to the trailhead, there's these little dispensers, and you can grab this dispenser and you can put this thing in your pocket and you take off and you start to walk down the trail, because sure enough, the dog's going to go poo, and for whatever reason, they always go poo on the trail. But when that happens is you pull this little thing out and it's a plastic bag. And you grab that plastic bag out of your pocket and you open it up and you grab the poo and you put the poo in the plastic bag. I think Einstein said it best. He says, as societies try to solve problems, they create bigger and worse problems. Well, think about it. You take a biodegradable substance and you put it in a non-biodegradable bag and you throw it in the dumpster, it ends up in the landfill, and somehow it ends up in the ocean. We've all seen those pictures. Worse, some people actually take the poo and they put the poo in the bag because, again, nobody wants to get poo on their shoe, and then they put the bag on the side of the trail. Wouldn't it be better just to grab a stick and kick the poo off the trail? It is fertilizer, for Pete's sakes. Well, I think at the same time we've created some oopses in the food industry. Take farm fishing, for example, again. The whole point was to save farm fishing, and they said to themselves when they started farming the fish, they said, what do fish eat? And they said, well, fish eat fish. So they started to strain the ocean of all the bait fish, and they said, whoa, wait a second, we can't be doing this. We're actually competing with the wild fish. Well, what are we going to feed our fish? Well, we can feed them corn, grain, and soy because it's cheap and we got lots of it. Soy is up to 42% protein. So now they're feeding farm fish corn, grain, and soy. So you go to the doctor and you get your heart checked out, and the doctor says, yeah, you actually have inflammation problem. You got heart disease coming on. You need to get more omega-3 into your body, because we know that the disproportion of 3 to 6, too much 6 and less 3, is going to cause problems. So you go to the store and you buy farm fish because it's less expensive and you don't know any better, and you take that fish home and you eat it. All creatures on the planet store fat based on the food that they're eating. Studies are showing that farm fish is 5 and 6 times higher in omega-6, and it's actually bad for us if you're trying to get your inflammation down. Oops. Genetically modified seeds and farming is kind of a complicated one. It hits a bunch of different levels. First and foremost is there's a debate out there, and it's crazy that there's actually a debate about this. Do our soils have the same amount of nutrients as they do in the ground they did 50, 60 years ago? Some people say no, because we've overfarmed them. I know this, they wouldn't grow very well if we didn't use fertilizer. So I don't know if those studies are right or wrong, but I know there is a debate out there about that. At the same time, we're using those genetically modified seeds. We actually alter the DNA of a seed, and we actually inject pesticide into the seed. So as the plant grows, it's releasing pesticides to keep bugs away. And today, colony collapse disorder is actually a real deal. Colonies of bees are dying by the groves. And what scientists are saying is that they believe chemicals are actually the number one culprit, because they believe that the pesticide is messing with the bee's immune system. And so when a bacteria infection gets into the colony, they can't fight it off and the whole colony dies. If we don't save our bees and figure this out, we don't eat fruits and vegetables. They pollinate 80% of all of our fruits and vegetables. Jurassic Park is one of my favorite movies. I just love it for the outdoors and the dinosaurs and all that kind of stuff. But in there's 2 lines that really stand out to me. Just because you can doesn't mean you should, and nature will find a way. As far as the bees are concerned, just because we can doesn't mean we should. The other one, nature will find a way, they actually have ingrained into the DNA of these seeds, they are herbicide resistant. That means when weeds grow and we spray these fields to kill all of the weeds, it does not kill the plant. Well, we've actually created super weeds. We've got some weeds that we can't kill. If we continue to do this, what's going to happen with our crops? When it comes to processing foods, the process of processing foods takes the nutrients out of the foods. That's why they're able to stay on the shelf longer. So my immune system needs nutrients. I'm literally taking the nutrients out, so I'm eating dead food. At the same time, when we process foods, we put chemicals and we put preservatives in them. That is a foreign invader to my body, so I'm literally taking the good stuff away from the good guys, and I'm actually giving stuff to the bad guys that's going on in my body. By harvesting grasshoppers and other swarming insects and using them to feed our food, we can actually reduce our dependence on pesticides. We can actually eliminate sticky chemicals, and we can actually use a better protein source. By harvesting grasshoppers and other swarming insects and using them to feed our food, we can be less dependent on seeds and the negative consequences that come from seeds. Swarming insects are some of the most protein-dense sources on the planet. Grasshoppers are 75% protein and 6% fat. His cousin, the Mormon cricket, is 55% protein and 30% fat. And this is the good kind of fat that you're talking about. When you hear people talk about grass-fed, grass-finished beef because you want the omega-3s, that's what you're getting from the Mormon cricket with the 30% fat that they contain. By harvesting grasshoppers and other swarming insects and using them to feed our food, we'll have another protein source that we can use to feed, and we can actually give our land some rest that they actually greatly need. In 2012, my buddy and I had just come out of the alfalfa field, and we were standing in his driveway, and we were just discussing what we had just done, and we were etching out our next prototype on the side of a dirty pickup. When I turned, I bust out laughing because there was a turkey that was actually standing in our machine eating these grasshoppers that were pouring out of this buffet on wheels that we had just rolled into the yard. And I laughed because years past, a previous customer of mine shared that his father used to haul around 250 domestic turkeys. He used those as an all-natural grasshopper extermination business. His father swore that a turkey, a gobbler, could consume up to 10 pounds of grasshoppers in a day. That day we named our machine the Hopper Gobbler. Fast forward to 2018, we had gone through 8 different prototypes, and we had a fully functioning machine that could bag up to 50 pounds of grasshoppers in less than 15 minutes. Today, we're actually measuring our success in pounds. I believe with the right partnership, we can measure our success in metric tons. I believe the grasshopper has been mislabeled for far too long. We've looked at them as a pest, and so we've looked to eliminate them, and we've always thought of it as pest control. I think that we need to reshape our thinking. We need to get a new perspective. We actually need to work with planet partnership. By harvesting grasshoppers and other swarming insects and using them to feed our food, the possibilities are endless. Just like any other technology that's out there, once you start a technology, your eyes and the doors are open to new possibilities. The possibilities with harvesting grasshoppers and other swarming insects and using them to feed our food is endless. Ever since the time of Pharaoh, grasshoppers and swarm insects have been mislabeled. They've been looked at as plagues, as a pest, even as God's wrath. But actually, if you read the book, it says that they're mighty miracles, and I believe that they're to validate God's love. I think it's time that we start to harvest grasshoppers and other swarming insects and use them to feed our food and to partner with our planet and work with it. You know, when there's an abundance of one thing and a shortage of another, when you bring the two together, you can start to bring balance. By harvesting grasshoppers and other swarming insects, I think we can find some balance. There's a lot more to share here, but I'm out of time. Thank you for your time. Have a blessed day.